21 days. Starting to feel a little nostalgic. This has been a crazy ride. I'm getting to the point now where it's almost over and I get to start thinking about what's next. And I'm starting to feel a little bit of pressure because this has just been so easy and so fun and so effortless that now I kind of feel like when the time comes to make a real video, I'm gonna choke. But we're not there yet. So let's just enjoy the moment. We got 9 more days of this. Oh, I can use my hands again. Ooh, 9 more days, right? It's been fun. How's everybody's weekend? Did you watch the Super Bowl? Who won? I'm not even gonna look it up. Unless I get any spoilers, I'm gonna wait for someone to tell me in the comments who won. Any epic Super Bowl parties that I missed? We had a relaxing day. It was awesome. Slept in a little bit, woke up, put some church on the TV, got haircuts. If you can't tell, looks nice, right? All nice and lined up. Had some fun with the boy. We went and rode the one wheels a little bit, went up and down the road. It was too cold. We tried though. We tried to brave it out. It's like 50 degrees, 60 degrees is way too cold for one wheeling. I mean, maybe I should have bundled up a little more too. It was like the sun was out. I'm like, oh, let's go one wheeling before the sun goes down. We're out and about, and then the sun starts to go down and like instant chill. Oh, and then like the breeze hit, instant chill. And then we came home and just been hanging out, getting some quality time in together, had some dinner, watched an episode or 2, I guess, of Sam and Colby. My son is obsessed with these guys, but I think he wants to do some ghost hunting, which might be some fun content to do here on the channel. And I think will help bring him out of his shell a little bit too, get comfortable in front of the camera in his own time and in his own motivation. All right, well, so in honor of day 21, I think it's a good time to just chat a little bit about my 20s. I promised I would give a little bit of insight and I think it's appropriate. I won't go too deep, but you know, needless to say, 20s for a dude aren't great. We think we know everything the whole entire time. Makes it really hard to teach us anything. Thick-headed, arrogant, made a lot of mistakes, right? You know, let's just put it that way. How can I cliff note this, right? So moved to Washington when I was 18, right? Talked a little bit about that. Spent some time with my biological dad. Spent a little bit of time in ITT tech. That was pretty cool. Spent a little bit of time getting in and out of trouble. That was not as cool. My early 20s were pretty typical. You know, we partied a lot, hung out with the guys. I wasn't thinking about my future whatsoever. I was just thinking about having a good time and finding the next rush. Fast forward to my mid-20s when I met my beautiful and amazing wife and our daughter, and we just fell in absolute love. It was one of those love at first sight type of things. And it was one of the first times that I ever just kind of wanted to be a better person because of the people that I had in my life. I wanted to provide a better life for them. Now, did I listen to that voice 100% of the time? No, I didn't. You know, I think I definitely could have done better. I listened to that voice maybe 60 to 70% of that time. The other 30% of that time I spent holding on to my youth. I didn't want to grow up. It was a lot of responsibility. I thought I was ready, but I needed to grow up a little bit more, right? So it took a few years of making some mistakes to grow up, and you know, eventually we got to a breaking point and I had to make a promise, and to this day I've kept it. But that was also a turning point for me, right? There were a few big turning points for me, and I think one of them also too was when my son was born. It was just the most beautiful and amazing experience ever, and watching my wife do something that I could never in my life dream about doing was the most inspiring moment where I was like, I'm really in awe of this person and what she just did and for what she just created for me and for her. And that was a big turning point for me. And then, you know, a couple mistakes later, I had to make a promise, and I did make a promise. And from that day, you know, it wasn't just a promise to my wife and to my family, but it was a promise to myself that, you know what, it's time to grow up. It's time to be a man. It's time to start investing in myself. It's time to start becoming a better person. Inside, outside, internally. It was time. And around that time, I found a new job in sales. I was probably 28, 29 years old. And this was another turning point for me because I joined this company. It was a pretty big construction company, and I saw all sides of the spectrum in the sales division, right? And in sales, you know, it's one of those things, it's like you get what you put into it. So I was able to see guys that were killing it, making six figures a year. And I was able to see guys that were, you know, barely making it or doing all right, making 30, 40, $50,000 a year. And then there was that bottom revolving door of people that were just constantly coming in and out and in and out and in and out because they just couldn't cut it. And a lot of the time it was just because of their lack of their own motivation, right? Being a somewhat intelligent human being, I started to look at what the difference was. And usually the difference is effort, personality, drive, determination, right? I mean, like there's these things we know. And something I learned about sales was sales is a numbers game, right? So the more you hustle, the more results you get, right? So I decided to take this job in sales. And before that, I had done all sorts of other stuff, right? I had been in construction. I had worked for an appliance store. I had been all over the place, right? Throughout my 20s. I had already owned a couple of businesses and lost a couple of businesses. And in that, you know, you come to a point of desperation and you think, okay, well, let me try sales, right? Makes sense. So I got into the sales thing and it was a grind. I tell you what, first 4, 5, 6 weeks, you don't make anything, right? Like you got 2-week training where they're like, okay, well, we'll give you $500 a week so you can learn everything about the product you're about to be selling. And then they kind of throw you to the wolves, right? You're going to run with your lead or whoever your supervisor is. You run with them a couple times and then you run with a couple of like the more senior guys and then you're on your own. And I just couldn't get it. I for some reason, I just couldn't wrap my head. I knew the product inside and out. I knew the company inside and out. I could just pitch the heck out of a roof, right? And I was like, why am I not selling anything? And I started doing some research, right? I finally went to Google and I looked up sales training and I found something by Zig Ziglar. And Zig is old school. He's one of the top sales guys ever, right? All of the new sales training is based off of Zig's old sales training, right? And then I started finding these guys that I call my mentors. They're my teachers because they came at the right time to start teaching me these things. And you know, I didn't know them, I never met them face to face, but they spoke to me still. And I met Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn. These are all names that I encourage you to go Google, listen to some tapes, watch some YouTubes. It's worth it. I promise it'll be worth it, right? So I found Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy, and I started learning how to sell. Not just how to sell, but how not to be a salesman, right? To be a consultative salesperson. You're not selling somebody, you're just seeing if your product is a good fit or not. If so, great, let's make it work. If not, great to meet you. Have a great day, right? No skin off my teeth. And then I met Jim Rohn. Oh, Jim Rohn. All of the motivational speakers you hear talk, all of their training is based off of Jim Rohn's old school training, right? And the first lesson that he taught me, which is unbelievable, and I'm not going to go too deep into this. He taught me a lot of lessons, but what he taught me is I needed to start working harder on myself than I was at my job. And that simple philosophy catapulted me from making no sales to eventually within months becoming the top sales rep in my company. Now, there's a lot that happened in between A and Z, a lot of personal development, a lot of self-education, a lot of growth, and still to this day, I hold those words dear to my heart. And I went from making $0 to $10,000 a month, $12,000 a month. Some of my best paychecks, I never imagined in my wildest dreams could I make that much money. And little did I know it was preparing me to be a successful entrepreneur in my future. Because in sales, you work for yourself. You don't really answer to anybody, especially in commission. If you don't make any sales, you don't make any money, and nobody cares if you're not making any money. They're like, well, they might make a sale someday. Just keep them on. You drag them along as they can go. And I didn't want to be that guy. And I've got the employee of the months. I've got the top salesman of the month. I've got the top earner ever. I've got the records to prove it. And I don't say this to brag. I say this because I come from humble beginnings. I started from nothing and was able to build myself to something. And I'm still doing that to this day. And I hope that these words are encouraging. And I know this was a long one and I'm sorry, but I just felt that it was important to get that out. But hopefully somebody hears this and the words resonate with them a little bit. And then who knows where this will go from there, right? Okay, so there you have it. That's my 20s. Gonna be 40 this year, so we got another decade to talk about. My 30s were some of my best years and also some of my worst years. So I don't know how deep we're gonna get into that yet, but I'm gonna leave this on a high note, okay? Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a great time chatting with y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, drop a line in the comments. Let me know that you did enjoy it. Let me know if you have any questions. If this is your first time here, definitely subscribe. And check out this video right here, which is day 1 of my 30-day challenge, which goes over why I'm doing this, a little bit about the challenge, and then you can catch up to all these days up to today. And then stay tuned because there's more to come. I hope everybody has had a great weekend and you have a great week to come. Let's all win together, okay? See you tomorrow.